What the heck can you do if your craft room looks like this? And what if the shelves where you normally store your materials look like this? What if this is the situation to reach your sewing machine? And what to do if your desk where you normally work and do your videos looks like this? The answer is pretty easy. Just take the materials laying around, no matter how strange they might be, and make yourself a little collage fodder buffet. Hi there, this is Luisa Heinzel, and I'm so happy to have you here today so that I don't have to go through this alone. What you can see here is the middle / ugly stage of my newest junk journal, which shall document my move / the construction site I have in my new apartment. If you have missed the other videos of this little series here, and if you want to know how I came to this, then please check out the info box of this video. There's a playlist available where you can find all of the videos that I have already published. And of course, the future videos of this journal or about this journal will also go into that playlist. And today I would like to do something. Let me quickly explain what I have used for making these 3 signatures here, which shall then later on go into a cover. And then you can understand what this is and what I want to do if you have perhaps missed the other videos. So this whole journal is made from materials I have found during the construction site situation and during my move. So this is all like real junk mixed with some really, like vintage, really vintage found objects. I have found a ton of old newspapers, for example, on the construction site, and also some other really old things. But the main thing is like real trash. What I have used here, some little cheating elements are in here because I have used some new materials from my stash, like this Tim Holtz fabric, for example, to attach the single pages to each other. And of course, when I use, like, for example, acrylic paint or other mediums, then I have chosen those from my stash. But what I'm trying to say is I want to make this journal like only from the materials I have found during this time, compared with some other materials that are necessary to make this work. And in my last video, we have made some abstract botanicals by stamping with really weird objects, like, for example, these little guys here. If you have missed that video, then please check out the playlist. You can find the videos there. And I have already put these little plants I have made in that video into my little collage fodder buffet box. Is that a word? Because I thought I want to try something that I think have never done before. So I want to use this box to make myself a little storage for some collage fodder stash / ephemera stash. What do I mean by that? What is the difference between collage fodder and ephemera? I will go into detail about my thoughts in a minute, because some of you might think, what she's doing in this video, that is more ephemera in my eyes than collage fodder. But let's talk about that later. So this is from the last video, and I want to take other things I have found on the construction site, and basically this is not. It's not so true, because this, for example, is not from the construction site, but from that time I was on the construction site. And I want to make tiny things from this, interesting things that I then later on can use in my journal, so that I have this little buffet box here and that I can take that out and choose like pre-made things from here and then put them into my journal instead of having a page in front of me and then start from zero with these materials every time I want to work in the journal. Does that make sense? I don't know, but perhaps after this video it makes sense. I'm really hoping that that can happen. So what do we have here? And why are some of the pieces already cut up? As you can see, this thing here, for example, if you have seen the other videos, you know that this was longer. This is a packaging from a little candy, and you can only see the half here anymore. That is because I have used the other half of this packaging already in my German video. Perhaps you know I always make a German and an English video so that more people can understand me. So if you want to know what happened to the other part of this packaging, please watch the German video. It's already online. So when you see this, the other video is already online. Also this is the back of this packaging, and I have used some of this material already in the German video. Some of the materials I can split, for example, this or this. Other materials I have only once, so that means it can happen that you see in the German video also other materials that I used here. So if you want to have more ideas, that's what I'm trying to say, watch the German video as well. So let's start. I'm a little nervous because here are some like really weird things. And in the beginning I said, let's take first take this. This is the inside of this thing here. This was a packaging from a perfume I bought during the renovation time because I thought I need something for myself and something to smell good. So this is the inside where the bottle was protected. And I thought we can perhaps just tear this and make some cool textures from this. So if you don't know what collage fodder is, then let me perhaps quickly explain that before I talk about collage fodder and ephemera and the difference between that and why that is not such a big difference in my case for my journal. I don't like these terms in general because I think we should just do things, yeah, and create things. So I want to take this layer off to see if we can get, yeah, look, because it's a little interesting when we do it like this. Collage fodder is everything you can use for making a collage. If you want to say it even simpler, it's everything you can glue down. So fodder, like food for a collage. But sometimes, in my eyes, and that's only my personal opinion, you can't, or it's not necessary to make a difference between collage fodder and ephemera. Because when I take this, let's say I have this, and I take this exactly like it is and put it into my journal, then I would say this is a piece of collage fodder. If I would glue it down like it is and glue other things on top, for example, or next to it to build a collage. But what if I take this from my stash and decide in the moment when I journal in my journal that I want to take this and turn that into a tag? Is that then still collage fodder, or is it like a raw piece which then becomes a tag? What is that then? And because of that, I don't like making these differences between those terms. Does that make sense? And somehow, you know, I have to call this somehow. When I make a video, I have to say, okay, this is collage fodder or this is ephemera, or I have to give the video a title. And I really liked this idea of having a collage fodder buffet. And yeah, that was something like, you know, a nice thought somehow, and that's why I called it like that. But I think it really doesn't matter how you use these things. The main point is we want to have fun with this stuff. And I want to use these and these layers here because why shall we throw these layers away? I mean, we are in a difficult situation. I say we because then I don't feel so alone, but I mean, I am in a really difficult situation at the moment, and that means that I don't have access to all of my craft supplies because some things went wrong with my time schedule, and because of that I had to unbox a lot of my boxes after I had already put everything into those boxes. Originally the plan was to move to Germany into my new apartment and then, you know, be there, unbox everything, and yeah, build my new craft room. But that didn't happen. So that means I'm here among some reopened boxes with some stencils that I found. I'm really lucky because these were laying on my desk from my last project. They haven't been in the boxes yet, and I'm really happy about that because now I can use them. But what I'm trying to say is I'm really limited to a few things I have left here. I could find this texture paste, but I don't have a spatula, so we have to get a little creative. Where is this little thing? Ah, here. This piece, this is from a packaging, from some, you know, a tool I used on the construction site. And I made a little spatula from this material as well in the apartment, because there was a little area between the window and the ceiling, which I couldn't reach with my normal spatula. And I have taken this and I, how have I done that? Let's try that to do it exactly the same. I have taken some masking tape. Hopefully that will work with this tape, because when I did it in the apartment it was a different tape, but I think that works as well. Why shouldn't it work? So I have put this around here to make this a little more sturdy, and that the moisture of the texture paste can't go in here. Then I have taken this like so to make a little regular edge here. Then more masking tape. And then just wrap this around here. Okay, let's see if that can work. Of course, if you watch this and you have a normal situation in your life, then please just take a normal spatula. But as you can see, this works as well. And I have thought a long time about how to do these videos, or if I just shall say, okay, I have a bad situation, I can't do videos, because this feels like really a little bit unprofessional, to be honest, and really weird. But I'm glad that I did this, and that I'm doing it here in this moment as well, because this is another example for the thing that you can do junk journaling wherever you want. There are no excuses if you don't have the right place or the right tools or whatever. You don't need fancy supplies for creating something beautiful. And hopefully that is true with this thing as well, and hopefully we will get a nice pattern here. Oh yes, look. It's a little bit busy, isn't it? But somehow it's interesting. Do we like this thing with the flowers, or shall we perhaps use a stencil with a more abstract pattern? But variation, Louise, variation. I also have this. So let's put this aside to dry, and let's take this one here. Oh, by the way, sorry, you always ask about that. So the flowers are THS 143, Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, and the other one has the number THS 016. So let's see if this pattern is perhaps a little bit better for this idea. Let's try to put this to this more regular area first, where the brown paper is still intact. Let's then try to fade this to this corrugated area. Ooh, okay. On this stencil there was a little bit of scorched timber oxide ink that will now probably influence the color of the texture paste a little bit, but I think this is okay. I think this looks good. What we also could do, let's imagine we don't have stencils at all. We can't find them, or we don't have some. Where's my towel? Ah, here. Then we could of course also just take such a piece and let's use some white gesso instead of the texture paste. I think that can look great as well. And why shall we use texture paste? I mean, that is white, yeah. You can use this. This is even, it's a cheap gesso, yeah. It's way cheaper than the texture paste is, and I don't need the consistency of the texture paste for doing something like this, because I don't want to put it through a stencil, so it doesn't matter how this goes on here. This works even better, I think, because then look, you can get the lines here from the material. That is nice. But I think I really like this thing with the gesso, so let's try to put some here. Seems that there's a lot of black and white going on in this journal, but that's totally fine. I always wanted to try that out, to add more black and white accents to a journal, and this is, I think, the perfect time to do that. So let's do this here as well, shall we? Perhaps, can we? I have some other stencils here. What about this one? But not using it with texture paste, but with the gesso as well. Let's try to bring that through there with our finger and see what happens. I do that really thin so that it doesn't go underneath the stencil so much, because gesso is... Don't move it, Louise. It's way more liquid, of course, than texture paste, so I don't use so much. And I also want to have a more faded kind of look here. Let's see. And of course, if you have your craft supplies available and you find some inspiration here, then please just use the things you have and the things you like. Yeah, there's no necessity that you empty your room just to do the things that I do here. Ugh, okay, that was not so successful, but we are going to live with this as well. It is what it is. And what shall we do with these? What if we... Where is my brayer? I had a brayer here, I know that here. What if we spread the color here a little bit and then do it like this and just press it in here. Oh, why not? That looks good. And what I also experienced already while recording my German video, I have already done that, and I thought perhaps it's interesting to think about what we normally do with our like normal craft supplies. How to explain that in English? Normally, if I would have something like this on my desk and I would have everything that I have available around me, and my craft room would look like it normally looks, organized and, you know, filled with my supplies. How would I do this? Probably in a totally different way. I would perhaps stamp to some of these papers with my stamps, but now I don't have them. I would perhaps take the Ranger sanding disc instead of this sandpaper here to sand the edges of this little paper here from the perfume package. And I would perhaps not think so much out of the box somehow. Because in this case, I have to find alternatives to what I would normally do. And I find that really interesting because there can also happen some unexpected things that bring you ideas that you wouldn't have with your normal craft supplies. So what I thought was perhaps we should sometimes limit ourselves to only a few things from our stash. And even if we are not in such a situation I am at the moment, we could perhaps find some things where we say, okay, we have a lot of things in our stash, but we take only a few of those and limit ourselves to those materials so that we don't have access to like every fancy tool we have. Example, I wanted to make a hole in here. When I recorded the German video, I was like, oh, okay, I take my punch. I mean my, you know, this little hand punch, and I punch a hole here. I've searched, I think 10 minutes or so. Then I was so like annoyed that I couldn't find it that I thought, okay, let's make a hole with this little guy or this big guy here. I would normally not do that, but I have a hole here now. And even if it's not in the middle, it worked. What am I trying to say here? If you don't have the same supplies like someone else has, take what you have and make the best from what you have. And don't be like, ooh, I have to buy this or that to do junk journaling, because you can do that with nearly everything you have. And if you don't have anything, then do it. It's just do it anyway. Yeah. Ooh, what is this? Look. This is the spatula from my German video. I have used that to, where's this little circle? To apply the texture paste. And now I use this to be able to punch through this paper because the paper is too thin, but I want a hole in here. And at the same time, when I do this, I can take this and just punch more holes, and then I have another piece of collage fodder. And this would normally drive me totally crazy. I would normally not make the holes with this machine because I have better tools to do that. But what I'm trying to say is, even if you have only this, yeah, and that is, I mean, this is a great tool, yeah, don't get me wrong, but I would use this for other problems, yeah, and for other things. But if you don't have a hand punch to easily punch this here and make a straight row of holes, then you could use another tool. Use what you have, yeah, do you know what I mean? And now we have a cool thing here. And this is just something that was a tool in the German video, a spatula, to get the texture paste out from my jar. And now it is another cool piece of collage fodder. Or if I use it for something else, it could also be a piece of ephemera somehow. But I think this is, you know, this doesn't remind you a tag or a ticket or something. This is probably collage fodder, and I will probably glue that down. But let's don't freak our freaks with the terms. So let's throw this in here into our little buffet. Let's take a sip of coffee. Let's first use the rest of the ink on our sponge to see that that is not enough. Where is my ink pad? I use some Scotch Timber oxide ink. I was really happy that I could find that color in one of my boxes. Perhaps you can imagine, if you know my video about my Ranger supplies, then you know how many ink pads and spray bottles, embossing glaze and so on, paint, I have there normally on my wall on little shelves. And perhaps you can imagine how nerve-wracking it was to take every single bottle and jar from that shelf and put that into boxes. And I can't think about the moment when I have to take everything out from those boxes and put that back into my shelves in the new apartment. I'm already I'm close to freaking out when I only think about that, because, you know, I have organized my Ranger products in the Ranger color chart. So every single bottle and every single ink pad has its place. And I don't want to have something else in my new craft room, so I want to keep this system, but can't think about that. I think I'm going to freak out when I have to do that. No, don't want that. I mean, this is obviously a little tag, but this is a good example for what I was trying to say with ephemera and collage fodder. So let me quickly cut these little blossoms out. These come from my brushed blossoms printable, which you can find in my Etsy shop. I will link that down below for you. I have already used some of this paper for making other things in the journal. You have probably seen that already. And I want to have these on here. This is obviously a tag, and as soon as it lays on my table, I think, okay, tag. And then the next thing I perhaps think is, I want to make a pocket to put the tag into the pocket. That is what we probably would think first. But what if I have this in my collage fodder buffet, and later on, when I take my journal and create a spread in my journal, I take my box and I take this tag out, and instead of putting it into a pocket, I glue it down and bring it into the context of a collage. Is that then still ephemera, or is it then collage fodder? Has it become collage fodder by gluing it down? What do you think about that? I find that a really interesting discussion somehow, because, some people freak their freaks about the terms that, are existing on social media, you know, YouTube and so on. When you see people making junk journals, they of course use terms. Somehow we have to talk about the things, otherwise that would be a little difficult, yeah? So, but is it really necessary? Is it really necessary to decide how to call it? I mean, of course, when you make a video, you want the people to know what's going on in the video, so you have to find names and terms and that stuff for the things. But think about this whole junk journaling thing without YouTube. If you would just do it for yourself at home without having a YouTube channel and without watching YouTube videos, where people use terms, would you then also think, oh, this is not a collage fodder piece, this is a tag? Probably not. And I think the main thing is, no matter if we talk about the necessity of terms or to have different tools and mediums, the important thing is that you like what you do. And with that, I don't only mean your result, but mainly the process of doing it. Because when you sit down and do something, you don't need the terms and you don't have to feel the necessity of having words for everything. The main thing is that you like the process of making something, even if you hate the end result. I'm not hoping that is going to happen, of course, but even if you don't like what you have on your desk, or you look at it like, 3 days later and you think, I hate what I did 3 days ago. Yeah, but remember the time you spent with it, and probably you will recognize that you had fun doing it, otherwise you would have stopped it. And that is the thing, isn't it? That is important, and not how to call something, or like, having fancy mediums or tools or something like that. I think this is good. I will not throw that into the box now because I have to let this dry. But since we have the gesso here mixed with some water, let's just splatter onto these little guys here. I think it makes no sense to splatter to these. Not here, but here perhaps, a little bit to this brown area, like that. Okay, everything of this has to dry. So while that is drying, we can perhaps think about something else. And I want to think about this little guy here. That is a packaging from a birthday present. My landlord had his birthday during the time I was there for renovation. And in this paper there was, I think, a really delicious drink. I think that was some amaretto. Is that a word in English as well? I'm hoping. So I thought a good thing would be to turn this into some kind of a ruffle thingy. I accidentally got some white gesso on here. But as expected, this would come off if we would rub over it, because the gesso can't really hold on this. I wish I knew where my alcohol ink is. I will do the following thing. Let's cut this open here. I think we don't need that much. I will cut this into strips. And then I will take this to my sewing machine and sew that, so that we then in the end have a nice ruffle. And I will also take a look into my boxes, which are behind me, and I will see if I can find my alcohol inks, because I would love to add some alcohol ink after sewing these strips. I can imagine that that would look really, really awesome. And alcohol ink is of course a good thing here because this is plastic. So let me quickly do that, and if we are lucky, I will be back with my alcohol ink. Otherwise, I have to think about something different. Whew. Have you ever tried to sew through such a material? This was really difficult, but I could manage to get this strip here. And as expected, I couldn't find my alcohol ink in my boxes, but what I could find is this StazOn refiller in the color Timber Brown. I have no idea if it's a good idea to put that on here. Probably not, but I want to have this a little bit more visible later, because I'm assuming if I take this, yeah, look, if I put this here, then, or somewhere in my journal, no matter what the background is, I would only see this sewn line here, but not the plastic itself, and that's a little bit not so nice. So let's see. I'm assuming if I put this on here to stain this a little bit, then it would stay sticky in the end, because this is intense. It's a refiller, yeah? So I think it's not a good idea to put it on directly. But what if we take the rest of this and put a little bit of this on here? And please, if you have alcohol ink, use alcohol ink for this and not this kind of stuff here. Oh, I'm just thinking, I had my blending solution in one of the... Oh, give me a second. Perhaps that could work if I throw this on here. Yeah, why shouldn't this work? So that it gets a little diluted and that it's not so extreme anymore. And let's then press this in here, hoping that it dries on the plastic. But it should dry, because StazOn ink is meant to use on plastic as well, isn't it? So, I mean, this should work. I'm just wondering why I haven't stained the plastic before sewing it. But, yeah. Okay. Not so bad. Can I perhaps also throw this on here and then add the blending solution? That would be perhaps even easier. Let's see. I want to have some more, variety in the intensity of the ink. And I'm really curious how long it will take until this is dry. I mean, I probably can't dry this with my heat tool, otherwise I would melt everything. But I'm thinking perhaps it's a good idea to melt it a little bit. Why not? I mean, why would you melt your stuff? But let's see. I want to try that. If I can get a nice effect somehow. Woo. Stay here, please. Just stay here. Let's cut a little piece off. So if this is going to become a fail, then we still have the rest of that material. Is this hot? No, it isn't. But it definitely looks more interesting than before, somehow. And it's dry. nearly dry. Oh, it's only on my desk here. So the thing itself is dry. This is only on my desk. Yeah, that is okay. I think it's also a little bit in between of those layers, but I think that will dry. What about this? It's not dry, so I don't want to wait. Let's cut this into pieces and let's just melt them. Why not? This looks way more interesting and way more, yeah, like the whole vibe on the construction side. A little bit more destroyed somehow. I think this can be a great addition somewhere in a collage. Or what you also could do with these is make some page tabs. Take that and fold it and just staple it to a page like so. Would look really cool as well, I think. So let's put these aside and let's see if they can air dry, and that, you know, the rest of the stuff is going to dry, hopefully. Otherwise I will later on take something like a paper towel or so and just get rid of the ink which is not dry. That should be also not such a big problem. So then let's go on with this little guy. I think here I just want to take this package and I just want to sew around here to get a flat piece, because this is like a tunnel at the moment and I just want to have it as it is so that I can take it later and just glue it down instead of having the struggle with this opening there. In the German video I have taken the second part of this packaging and here you can see what I made from that. I think that looks also really nice. This is just a piece of an Amazon packaging, and then I have sewn the piece of the Kinder Pinguin on here, and I have used both of these buttons here. I found those in my new craft room under the floor and I have just sewn them on here. So these are really, really old as well, and they still have a little bit of dirt on them, but I think that is the most authentic way you could use something like this, and I think this is a great combination. Look, imagine this in the journal, then we have something cohesive and nice. So let's put this into our little box here, because this is already finished. And what shall we do next? I think I want to take the rest of this packaging and cut this into something here. I want to cut off this piece. Let's cut off this little part here so that we are left with 3 pieces. This is the perfect journaling card in my eyes, and I don't want to do much to this. I just want to leave this as it is. Just sand the edges a little bit so that I later on can just take it and I can take a white pen to journal on the back. I've just seen the back is not completely smooth. That's not so good. Let's see. Ah, this is so cool. And oh, can you see what happened here? When I sanded over this, the black got silver here. That could mean, yeah, look, when I go over this carefully, oh my goodness, we can change the look of this. Oh, that is even cooler than it was before. The glitter disappears a little bit, but that's okay. Oh, that gives them even, this looks like dusty glitter now. Ah, I love that. And it doesn't look like packaging anymore, I think. Oh, fancy. Look. Oh my goodness, and I can see something else here. But I can't talk about that now. Oh, this just turned into something special without planning that, but let's talk about the backside. I'm so sorry. This is not smooth. Can you see? It's a little bit like embossed. That is a problem, but we can solve that within seconds. Let's just take a piece of paper. So I have some leftovers from my brushed blossoms journal backgrounds here. This printable you can find in my shop. I will link this down below for you in the description box. And as you can see, this is really distressed and rough, rusty and dirty, and that is the reason why I chose this for this journal. That is one of the reasons. The main reason was that it was laying around in my room here and that I still, you know, I had it there. It was not in my boxes. I had this printed out for something else, and I was like, okay, this wants to be in my journal. And that was the reason why I have taken it. But of course you could also take, you know, why is this so weird? You could also take a coffee dyed paper or something else that you might have in your stash to back this, and to have a better surface to write on later, and to cover this weird embossed area. So I'm just tracing this after I've decided for a portion of the printable I want to have. Then I cut this out. I take this to my sewing machine and thus just sew this on. Of course, you could also take some glue and glue this to the back of your packaging, or in this case your fancy journaling card. If you don't have a sewing machine, this works with glue, of course, as well. So here you go, fancy journaling card. Where's my blending tool? Just ink the edges a little bit, just with the rest of the Scotched Timber oxide ink I have left on this little sponge. And shall we perhaps also, I think we are going to do that, add a little, perhaps I should measure where the middle is. Oh, thank you. This is 3 inches. Easy to see where the middle is, so that we can punch a hole here, like nearly in the middle. And then let's take something to put that on here. I mean, we could use this brown packaging paper from the Amazon packaging, but can we use something more fancy perhaps? Something else? What about a portion of this? And why does this have to be a circle? That is not necessary. Let's see how that looks if we sand this a little bit. Yep. So how to do that? Let's first glue this down, and I think I will also sew over that a little bit. I know that I close my hole here now, but I can just punch again through it from the back because I can easily see that there. So I will let this dry, and then I think I will sew around here as well. That looks cute, I guess. And I've just decided to cut it off here because the back side of this little piece is white and that totally wrecks my nerves. So I will cut it off here, and I've only sewn around here so that the sewing makes sense as well. That looks way better. So let's take this guy back and punch the hole through this other piece as well. Where's my... Okay, so I think I like the front, but that is weird. So let's make a little circle for the back. Yeah. Shall we make the circle from this material? No, that is then perhaps a little bit thick. So let's take this. I take a second paper to put that underneath because I have experienced that I can't punch through only this paper because it's too thin and the crocodile can't handle that. So let's then do that down here. This looks so cute. I really love this. Okay, so that is another piece that can go into our little collage fodder oh, I can't say this word in English. Buffet box. So then let's talk about these because the texture paste is already dry. The gesso needs a little help with the heat tool here, but that is okay. So I will also take these because I have a cool thing for you with this kind of material, and I want to do the same or nearly the same thing on all of these. So let's see, I will quickly dry the rest here, and then I want to put on some remnant rubs, and I'm really curious because I have never done that before, how that comes out on the texture paste and the gesso. I have experienced in the German video that on this dark surface the remnant rubs look really, really amazing. That is a little bit surprising because the remnant rubs are black, yeah, so black on black, that is weird probably at first glance, but wait, just wait, it's really cool. Okay, let's start with this piece. Let's first sand this a little bit, and I will also leave this weird shape. I can later on either take these little flaps and put them like this, then I have two surfaces to glue this down and turn that into a belly band. Or what I also could do is I could just leave this weird shape and glue it here and turn it into a belly band. Or I can just, you know, do whatever I want with it. I can also use that in a collage or so. But wait until you see the remnant rubs on this material. So these are the Field Note remnant rubs by Tim Holtz Ideology, and I just want to take this whole thing, put this underneath to just get some of this on here. So we take this little guy and just rub a few portions of this on here. And you might think, well, that doesn't show up because it's black on black, but please wait. This is so cool. Of course, you could try stamping black on black if you don't have remnant rubs. If I had the box with my stamps here close to me, I would probably also try that, but the box is already, you know, in my other room there, ready to be picked up. So I will save that idea for another crafty session. I like to go over this with my fingers a little bit to make sure that these are totally attached. The surface of this packaging is a little rough, and I try to help these to stick on here really well by rubbing over them with my fingers. But as you can see, nothing comes off, and please take a look at this. I know that you can't read so clearly what is written here, but isn't this just amazing? This looks so cool. Let's try that on this surface as well. And perhaps we can here, and I haven't tried this in the German video yet, so I don't know what's going to happen here now. Let's sand this a little more. And I find this shape really weird, so let's just cut this off, please. Please go. This is weird. And now the little Barbara in my soul comes out. Did you know that I have a little Barbara in my soul? The little Barbara says, rectangles, rectangles don't have weird shapes. So that's why I cut this into a real rectangle instead of having this wonky one. That is probably totally weird, but I need that. I can't handle those weird shapes. So let's sand this. Let's try to get rid of most of the writing. Oh, and we can even bring something out that I haven't seen before. Look, here is this little number, like embossed as well. How cool is that? But what I originally wanted to try is to make this a little more silver. As you can see, when the first layer comes off, we get this silver. And I want to know how how the remnant rubs look on this surface and if they can stick here. What about which portion shall we try? Let's try this. Hopefully I will not have these little guys in my new apartment. That would be not so good. Oh, there seems to be... Oh, that is really hard. Okay, why isn't this working so well? Ah, okay, now I have it. Just rub a little more, Louise. Don't give up. Let's see. Okay. Can we bend this to the other side? Yes, we can. Why not? I don't know what you see, but I feel that this is not so extremely visible than this. And that is surprising, isn't it? Because this is way darker and, you know, black on black, and here we have black on silver. But it is not so visible like here. But I like this. This is somehow interesting, especially with this engraved number there. And this looks now really like metal, and I like that. So I think both of these can already go into the box. And what I want to try is, I want to take the remnant rubs and try to apply them to these pieces here, really randomly. Let's see, perhaps like this. I want to have the word destination here. And I'm really wondering what happens on those irregular areas. I have never tried that before. And I have also never tried it on the texture paste or gesso. But that seems to work. Oh. Oh, oh, oh no. Ah, help. I need help. Ah, this is really cool. Oh, but this, of course, we can't handle this, but it stays on there. That is really good. It worked. Oh my goodness. How cool. Ah, let's take this. Let's try to save these. Just by, yeah, well, I have to put it here to the edge, otherwise it would look weird, I guess. Just do it like this. And I really like this exactly how it is. I think that doesn't need more. And I like that you can also use these little tiny fragments from the remnant rubs. If you have made something like abstract, like I did before, then you can just use this thing again and use all of these tiny bits and pieces for some interest on your ephemera or collage fodder or whatever. Because look, this looks interesting now, even without that everything is like completely readable. What about taking this flower and just put... we have this little bee left. Can I put the bee somewhere? I want the bee. Oh, where is a good spot for this bee? Here. How perfect is that? I mean, what the heck? Oh my goodness, look. How cute. Oh, this is so cute. And what I also like is we still have this little guy, but I need something, if I want to use that, to put on, which is where I can put it on so that that sentence makes no sense. Let me quickly throw this in here because all of this is finished. And let's then see what we have where we could put this little guy on. I want to have a like unique piece. But I found this. This is relatively new, as you can see. The people who lived in my apartment before they moved out obviously have forgotten it there. Can we perhaps make something like this? If yes, how? I mean, this is so cute. Can I cut this? I don't want to cut the cats out. I don't want to fuzzy cut them, because then I would be left with a really weird shape, and I want to make the most out of this stuff here. So let's try to leave this for something else and take this, and then we would need something else here. This is a little bit too big, but what if we... This is still not completely dry. That would be better, I think, if there was something on the bottom here which can be like, yeah, a base for this button somehow. I like that. I think I want to have that there, and I will just sew this on with my sewing machine. And then I'm really happy to have this little piece of thread left here on my table and this needle, so that I then can sew the button on here, but I'm just thinking, does this need something under the button? And if yes, what? Perhaps some of this. Normally I would probably use some kind of lace or so, a little piece of lace, but that is not available here at the moment. So let's do it like this. And then just sew this on. Here it says book. And I think we need one of the D's here as well. Because Germany is Deutschland in German, and on a car, for example, it would be D and not G, even if it's Germany, you know. You know, you know what I mean. Oh, here, number 1, it makes sense. Oh my goodness, let's put this here. Look, this cat has the heart. So let's place this number here and the one a little closer to this thing. Oh, you can make the cutest things from nothing. I mean, this is like nearly nothing, isn't it? Look. Oh, I love that. Can I get a little bit of this, please, to the frame here, or to it doesn't have a frame, to this edge here. Yes, I can. Yep, and we could even set an eyelet. I'm lucky to have my eyelets still here on the table. Yes, that is wonderful. So that's it for today. If you want to know how these pieces become part of my journal and how everything gets together, then please stay tuned. You will definitely see this again. And I wish you a very great and creative day. Bye bye.